Hey, welcome back to Formidable Fabrications. So this is the first day of the actual garage build. So the pad is done. Now I had marked out the corners and got everything completely square, but they went and double checked everything, which was pretty interesting. It only took them 30 seconds to actually find 100% square marks, whereas it took me and my wife about 15 minutes. I guess that's what happens when you do this stuff every day. But he laid out one side, marked the other, and they were done. And I said, "Are you sure it's square?" And he said, "Positive." Me and my wife took about 15 minutes to figure that out. But anyway, so if you call on the other video where I was prepping the pad, I'd mentioned that some of the areas were 18 to 24 inches thick. Now this particular area right here is not. It's maybe 6 inches thick of millings. But still, it shows you how easily this machine was able to drill these holes. It was interesting to watch. Just the sheer force that drill bit can go down and then pull that dirt right up. So my property is about 40 to 60 feet of hard pan clay. So when it gets hot out in the summer, the clay is almost impenetrable. So you almost have to use a pickaxe just to put plants in. But this drill bit just ate right through it. It was awesome to watch. Absolutely awesome. So as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, there's something on a pallet, and those are what they call the concrete pucks. So those concrete pucks have a slight bell shape to them. They're wider on the bottom than the top. And what they do is they drill these holes out, drop that puck down in there, get it semi-level. They stick the post on top, and then they push the dirt back around the post. Pretty quick. It only takes them a few minutes to get a post up. And they usually do it pretty relatively quickly. It's not 100% square, but they square it up as they go along and build the rest of the garage. And if you're watching the guys, especially this guy right here, you'll notice the shovels are bent. They specifically make these shovels with a bend in them so they can actually get down there and scrape the bottom square. But that's the hole. Just a couple seconds in there and he's done. So as I said before, they put the pucks in and then they put these posts in. Now if you see on the bottom, they're black on the bottom. I got a special coating on them because these posts will be in direct contact with the ground. And the last set of posts I put in when I built my old garage, they rotted within a few years around where the ground was touching them. So I opted to spend the extra money to get the plastic, like a plastic wrap with like a tar underneath. It's interesting, but I think it was roughly about $100 a post or so. But in my opinion, it was well worth the extra money. So you can see that they already got the posts up. They're not even leveled up yet, but they already got the purlins up to hang the metal on. That's what those horizontal pieces of wood are called, purlins. But they've already cut all those to the exact sizes that they need, just according to the drawing. And as they're drilling the holes, they're finished cutting them. So when they put those posts up, those purlins are already ready to go up. So as soon as they stick a post in the ground and get the next one up to it, they're already nailing those purlins up. And that's the beginning of the actual structure that holds it pretty square. So once they got the purlins up, they put the band boards around the top, on the inside and the outside, and that really stiffens everything up. Okay, so here's the cool part. So they got the trusses delivered, and if you see the trusses, they are perfectly stacked up. So what these guys are doing right now is they need to put the purlins on the trusses to hold the roof on, the metal on top of the roof. So what they're doing is they're measuring out where the purlins need to go on the roof, and then they're going to snap a chalk line. So when they drop the roof trusses, if the roof trusses move, the purlin or the chalk lines are already there for the purlins. So literally all they do is pick the trusses up, set them. The lines are already marked, so all they got to do is run those 2x4s on the lines that they drill. So they mark the whole thing inside and out for every purlin that needs to go in there, and for some diagonal supports and stuff that are in there. But they know all these measurements beforehand just by looking at a very simple drawing. I just thought it was really neat to watch the science of this whole building going up. As simple as a pole barn is, the measurements that these guys do beforehand are so precise. It is absolutely astonishing. Yeah, so they're marking all their lines. Then they snap the chalk lines on both, actually it's four sides of the roof because it's a shed style roof. All right, so now they're actually going to drop the trusses right at the back of the trailer. So the trailer has rollers all on it. And they have the trusses set up in such a way where they roll off without any actual damage to the trusses. Now, I didn't show you the 20 minutes of video it took for him to get lined up to get this exactly right. They just roll off, and that's it. So now you can see as the trusses hit, they all shifted. But all those lines are still on there, so when they put them up, the purlins will fit right on the lines and everything will be perfectly straight and square. And once the guy checks, makes sure that everything is situated properly, then he just pulls the truck forward and the trusses just slide right off, and then that's it. Then we start setting trusses. All right, so here we are setting trusses. Since they couldn't get around the back of the garage, they actually carried the truss around the back, and then they used this little mechanism that they made that they used to lift up the trusses and set the trusses on. So the back one they had to carry around. The rest of them they just bring right through and set up. But that truss sits on the very top high poles, and then they're just picking up the trusses and just setting them right up. As quick as they set the truss up there, the guys are ready to nail it and get the purlins on those lines that they drew on them. So he waits there a few seconds. They get it nailed up just so it holds up, and then he backs up and picks up the next truss. All right, all right. I wasn't able to film them putting the stuff on the roof, but so that's a layer of it's what they call double bubble. It essentially is like the windshield stuff that you put in your car windshield when it's really hot out. Um, it has like a little bit of give to it, a little bit of cushion, but it's like aluminum, I guess, or something like that. But anyway, I put that under this roof in particular because in my last roof I didn't have anything under the metal, and every time something dropped on the roof, it like echoed through the building. The pear tree would drop pears from the squirrels eating them, and then it would sound like somebody threw a large rock, on top of the roof. So this stuff supposedly helps absorb a lot of that sound, and it also has like a small R value, maybe like an R value of like 2 or 3. something small like that. But anyway, yeah, I put that underneath there just as hopefully more of a sound deadener than anything. I just got tired of hearing the gumballs from the gum trees or the pears dropping on the roof. And behind the garage is a ton of gum trees, and they're going to drop them little monkey balls, and it's going to hit the roof. So I didn't want to hear any of that sound. So I will insulate the whole inside of it. I just needed something that would absorb some of that sound and the shock. But it is funny how quick they put these things up, these panels up. It is absolutely amazing. So for the sides of the building, I opted to do some Tyvek just to add a little bit extra, I don't know, just something behind the metal. My biggest concern was the neighborhood I live in. I kind of like live in like a trough in the neighborhood, maybe like an old creek bed like 10,000 years ago. But it's a little bit lower, and if you watch the trees in the background, there's a lot of wind coming through. So since I will insulate the building, I still wanted something behind the metal just so the metal wasn't just sitting there. So welcome back. So this is the end of day 4 on the garage build. And as you saw the time lapse go, there is it may not be as exciting as one would hope it would look like, but in all actuality there's a lot more going on. I keep finding their bits all over the ground here. So here's the inside. They still need to put that plywood up on the floor, and they got one window in, they got put this one in, and the door. Still do some exterior work, but pretty much the roof is, I'd say, 90% done. There's a little bit they have to do up there, but that's done, and then that and that. So we'll take a quick walk around. So here's the metal on the sides. It's a dark charcoal with the forest green roof. All the trim is forest green as well. It's kind of offset a little bit, but still kind of blend into the woods surrounding it. So the windows in, still got to put that up there, but there's a lot of trim work involved, especially up there in the soffit. It's really surprising how much trim is really involved in putting in one of these. And evidently this style roof, this barn style roof, is they said it's essentially like putting 2 roofs on one garage, so it takes them twice as long to do it all. So yeah, so there's the trim across the bottom that keeps water from going into the structure, and then there's the trim around the top right there. So that is essentially holding in the metal in case any rain hits it from the side. So it's just a ton of trim work, but and it's really hard to show all this intricate detail in the time lapse because I can't get so close because the garage is so big, and it's hard to keep moving the camera around when the guys are constantly moving around and doing different things. But what is interesting, if you watch, the guys that actually climb up these things and just go right into the upstairs, or climb right up and go right up onto the roof. It was pretty interesting watching them monkey up there. But it's a pretty simple structure. I did opt to get the post covered in a thick plastic and like a It's like a hard tar material. So since this is direct ground contact on these posts, I opted for that because the last garage I had, or the previous, the current garage I'm working out of, the posts all rotted right in there. There's 6x6 posts, and I got about an inch of rot on all the sides. So for an extra, I think it was about $1,000 to have all the posts wrapped. I think they wrap it and then they heat it, and it shrinks it down. So definitely a good option if you're going to get a pole barn built, that you check out any kind of wrapping that you can. So just tons of 2x4s, all these purlins. Each one of these is called a purlin, and that's essentially what holds up the metal. So this one I particularly opted to get the Tyvek put on just as an extra barrier. From my property, I'm in kind of like a little bit of a wind tunnel, I would say, where I kind of tend to get a good bit of wind coming through. So I opted to have that just as a little bit extra. And then the roof is all done with what they call the double bubble foil, and it rained pretty good last night. We actually got to test it out. So in my old garage, the roof is exposed steel, so you can actually see the steel like this. You can, the white is actually the double bubble. On my other garage, the white is actually the actual roofing material, and every time one of those gumballs hit from the gumball tree, or one of the pears hit from the pear tree that's next to it, it dings, and it's incredibly loud. It scares you if you're not expecting it. But last night we had a rainstorm, and the difference of the double bubble in during the storm was a noticeable difference. So that normally in my old garage it would drizzle and it would sound like a rainstorm, a pretty heavy rainstorm. This time around we got a pretty heavy rainstorm, and it sounded a little bit more than a drizzle, but not a whole lot more. So it definitely was helping out. So the only other way to combat the noise if you have an open frame would be to have spray foam in, but at this point spray foam's a little out of my budget. So you can see they put metal hurricane hangers on all of them, as well as 2x6 pieces in there which extend up and nail to it. So it's like double supported. Very well built structure, actually. That was a little faux pas. Whoever decided to put the post in there was supposed to put it over there, but according to the drawings they forgot to take into the effect that there's a window there. So that post actually went up through. So they just moved the post over and went up. Not a big deal. That post is not necessarily structural. It's nice having the extra structure of the longer post, but it's not necessary for the structure of the building. So surprisingly, when they first put it up, they just throw the posts in, put some ground in it, smack it down pretty good. Then they start putting the purlins up, and the wall just wiggles back and forth as they're climbing up and down. But now this thing is rock solid. Now that the ground has settled a little bit and the trusses are up, you can see all the diagonal bracing that they put in, especially up in there, to really hold everything completely square. It is just a feat, an absolutely astonishing feat. So yeah, so the company I used was Extreme Pole Buildings, based out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or close to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And a great group of guys doing really good work. They have had a little bit of a spread out schedule. It hasn't been every consecutive day they've been working here, because they've had other projects. And this building actually, I think, has taken them a little bit longer than they expected, only because they're not used to this roof style. But it definitely was interesting watching them put this thing up, and hopefully the time lapse will at least give you an idea of how it goes up. So I guess we'll be back for day 5. Today is Tuesday. I don't know when they'll be back. I don't know if they'll be back tomorrow or if they'll be back like Friday, because they still need to get the stairs, which are going to go from there up to a landing and then up to there. So you can see the bigger opening right there. So the stairs should go up that way. So anyway, that's all. just a quick view of this. Stay tuned for the rest of it. Okay, well, here is the finished garage as it stands right now. Still need to finish up the little trim up there, but everything else is pretty much done except for the stairs and the plywood. So they built me this nice little portico. I just wanted something temporary because eventually I'm going to put like a little porch off of this, but just now, just so I'm not getting like rained on every time it rains or gets snow like right against the door, I had them throw this on for a couple extra $100. So they still need to finish up the corner trim, which will be a green, the same as this color, which will go over here. So I'm already doing a project in here already that I can't get in my garage. So they got most of the, well, half the plywood up. So all that's up, and then they just got the rest of it here. So we've been using the ladder just to go up and check it out. I'm not like afraid of heights, but I'm not gonna lie, it's really tall up there when you look down, because between here to here is like 15 feet. The concrete is supposed to be like right there. So this difference is like 14 and a half feet, almost 15. So it's a little daunting being up there, but pretty much everything is done. The windows in, doors in, garage door trim is in. So I got to order the garage door, and all the metal's up. And the metal's up all the way. It's just so tall. So you can see like all the green trim. I like the green trim. I think it just looks neat. Just stands out. Doesn't stand out incredibly, but it just adds some depth and a color difference to the garage. So that's a wrap for now. I probably won't record the last day because all they're going to do is put in the steps. But if you follow my Instagram account, I will be posting pictures of like the absolute final product. So Instagram, Formidable Fabrications. You can go on Facebook, Formidable Fabrications, and you can stay updated. In the meantime, that's it. This is my dream garage with the second story for an arcade room, a craft room, and a makeshift second, like a little apartment for guests. So, all right, well, thanks for watching. Like I said, follow my Instagram and YouTube for more pictures. And if you have any questions about the build, please feel free to contact me. And once again, it was Extreme Pole Buildings, extremepolebuildings.net. Like I said, great guys, good price. Owner is really easy to work with. Very happy with everything they've done. All right, I'll see you on the next one.